history since the Second World War. And of course, it's shaken up the entire post-war consensus that was believed to keep peace in Europe with the European Union, with NATO, with America as our security guarantee. All that was shattered in February 2022 when Putin's troops that he'd amassed on the border of Ukraine invaded. And of course, we've seen some horrific pictures and footage from Ukraine ever since, and the people there continuing to fight, continuing to experience daily attacks from drones and other weapons, even in the cities. Now, Trump is there on the red carpet, waiting to meet Putin. They're about to shake hands. Historic pictures there as we're witnessing Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, perhaps two of the most powerful men in the world, meeting face to face for the first time in 6 years. Could this be an end to, and someone has to face re-election? It's less important to him, the public opinion back home. But will Trump understand what Putin really wants from this war? Will there be negotiations? Will it be a business deal, as Trump hopes? Will those economic threats and sanctions and promises help to bring Putin over the line? And what about the role of European leaders? Our own former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, of course, one of the first to support Ukraine, still extremely vocal in his support of Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, and all of European Union rowing in behind our own government. Keir Starmer, of course, as well, has made significant efforts to show support of Britain and the rest of Europe for Ukraine, but increasingly has seemed to be sidelined since Trump came in. And there have been comparisons about this meeting between Trump and Putin with the 1938 Munich Agreement, when, of course, Hitler and other European leaders carved up Czechoslovakia without any Czechs being present. So some Ukrainians asking if this is a repeat of 1938. Will Ukraine be carved up without the presence of any Ukrainian representation? And of course, at the beginning of the war, European leaders were adamant that the Ukrainian borders should not change, that there should be no reward for Russian aggression, that Putin should under no circumstances be able to keep any land that he has taken. But that moment seems to have been past, and 70% now of Ukrainian people believe that some negotiated settlement is preferable because, of course, they want an end to the war. But questions to be answered about whether or not any settlement will last. Will Putin stick to any terms of an agreement? Even can Volodymyr Zelensky give up land under the Ukrainian constitution? He's been accused of acting undemocratically, not holding elections despite the fact that they're due. But of course, Ukraine is in the middle of a war. It would be very difficult to see how those elections could be held fairly and freely. But we're now seeing the big cars of the leaders ready to take the presidents away from the airport, from their planes, ready for this summit. Now, of course, it will be behind closed doors, and there will be lots of people waiting for the outcome. Now, Eric Ham, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for your commentary this evening at late notice here. And we're still seeing images there from Alaska of Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump being taken away from their planes, ready for the summit. And of course, the world is waiting. The conflict in Ukraine shocked Europe, shocked the West. Many people never thought that Putin would actually go ahead and invade, would send those hundreds of thousands of troops over the border. And it really has changed warfare as we know it. Many people thinking before then that warfare was only going to be about technology and cyber attacks and investing in those kind of technologies. But we've seen a return to trench warfare that we haven't seen for decades, and the use of infantry, but drones that have changed the face of warfare, cheap drones that have been used to take out hugely expensive tanks and other military equipment. So a big change in warfare that we've seen over the last 3.5 years. But Ukrainians on the ground having to live day to day in such appalling conditions. So we can only hope that this summit between Putin and Trump will bring an end to that war. So we're seeing again the big armoured cars of both presidents. The latest pictures here on GB News. We're watching them live in Alaska as the leaders touch down. Now, they will be joined by their closest aides at the meeting and no doubt some interpreters, but it will be a private meeting behind closed doors. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of rapport the two leaders have. They've not met for 6 years. Of course, Trump was out of power for a number of those years, but now back for his second term and promising to end the war. Well, let's get more on this with American political strategist and spokesman. Sorry, I apologise. Let's get more with Stuart Crawford, who joins us now. He's a former British Army officer. Stuart, thank you for joining me this evening. The British interests are rather sidelined this evening, aren't they? Do you think Starmer's efforts are going to be worthwhile, or is this the end of European influence?
Good evening. I don't think that it's going to be the end of European influence, but I think that European influence will not kick in just yet. I see this very much as a preliminary sort of seeking out information meeting between President Trump and Putin, and that European involvement will follow on if this meeting is successful and Donald Trump does, as he says he's going to do, try and arrange immediately another meeting which will include President Zelensky of Ukraine and possibly other European leaders like Macron and Starmer. So I don't think Starmer's efforts have been wasted at all.